About the Seiko SKX007, thinking it needed a simple balance replacement. This was the story. In reality, broken stem, unusable crown, and the movement that's completely dead. The watch that was clearly hiding a lot more damage than advertised. So in this video, we're bringing this thing back to life, properly. I'm Dennis, and this is Wheels and Watches DIY. Today's build is a perfect example why you need to know exactly what you're buying. On the surface, it looks like a simple repair, but this can turn into something completely different. So the seller said that the movement needed a new balance, and after testing the palette for function, which I didn't like, and fitting a new balance, nothing worked. So instead of chasing problems, I decided to do a full NH36 swap. So in this video, we're gonna go just through the whole process from start to finish. We're gonna start by looking at that case. Everything looked pretty decent. Some marks, but nothing ridiculous. All the stamps looked good. The bracelet was definitely aftermarket. You could see it by looking at the font on the clasp. It's not as crisp as Seiko clasp font would typically be. The end links were stamped wrong. So all in all, a replica and not a really good one. So now we've taken out the movement, and we're gonna gently take the hands off. But first, we will protect that beautiful dial by putting a piece of plastic on it before proceeding with taking the hands off. Once the hands are off, I typically put them away and I store them with the dial away until I am ready to install it back so nothing gets damaged. The dial is friction fit, so I use my not so good screwdriver and take the dial off. When I disassemble the case, before I take the bezel off, I put a bit of plastic in between the case and the bezel just to avoid any unnecessary damage. All the seals on this watch were replaced. Here you can see me taking the crystal out that came with the watch. It said it's original, but I am not entirely sure, and it was in bad shape, so I decided to replace it anyways. Now here you can see me comparing the case of this watch, which is on the right, to a SKX009 Pepsi that is on the left, which sits on the original Jubilee bracelet from Seiko. I'm not going to go into too much of a detail about the cleaning process, but I'll just say that I use a combination of pegwood, brushes, as well as throwing most of the parts into an ultrasonic bath. So here you can see me loading everything into my chrono clean machine, and off camera we're gonna clean all those parts, and while we're doing that we're gonna start assembly. First we'll look at the brand new NH36 movement that I got. This is, by the way, authentic movement. I buy it from a reputable reseller that has been around in the business a long time, so I don't have to worry about an AliExpress clone. So here we are cleaning the dial. I'm using my specialized pen that is typically used to clean the lenses for high-end cameras. And I do the same thing with the hands, just to give them a wipe without damaging anything. And I like using my anvil for that sort of thing, just to keep everything off my bench mat. And here we are testing for that function before we install the hour, minute, and seconds hand. The date, as you saw, snaps right as we hit midnight, so everything's good to go. And now I am using my hand setting machine just to press that hand nice and even. After I've checked the spacing, we're going to proceed to do the same thing with a minute hand. We're going to test for function, and something felt off when I was testing. The date snapped again right at minute, which is good, but the minute hand just felt off. I can't really explain it. It's just the feel that I had, and it looked off, so I'm just using my tool just to see if my suspicions are correct, and they are. The hole in the minute hand was just a little bit loose, so we're gonna have to tighten everything up. So for this particular build, I had to take out my staking set, and after lining up everything and using a specialized punch, after maybe 2 tries, I was able to tighten up that hole. So I made that hole snug enough so it would be nice and secure, but not way too tight. By the way, this is a specialized hammer, where on one end I believe it's plastic, on the other end it's a piece of brass. So here we are again installing that minute's hand, and once I'm happy where it is positioned, we're going to use my hand setting tool again to make sure that it's fitted properly. The spacing between the dial and then the hour and then the minute hand should be sufficient so everything is clear, nothing touches each other. Sometimes I see when there's another problem that you see there. This was where my minute hand was touching the seconds hand, and after taking that hand off, looking under magnification, I did determine that the hole was just a little bit too large, so I had to resort to something that I haven't really done before, and that was tightening up that little hole. I did have to use something that I don't typically do. In this case, I didn't have a proper tool to do this, so I used nail clippers with a slightly dull edge just to tighten up that hole a little bit, and honestly it worked like a charm. But in the future I will definitely buy a tool that will allow me to do that properly if I'm working on a more expensive watch. Then after that we proceeded to installing that sapphire crystal, and you saw me using my specialized MKS crystal press. After checking how the crystal was sitting within the case, I didn't see that it was lopsided or anything like that, and I proceeded with the installation of the bezel. After the bezel snapped into place, you will hear, or you should hear, a nice clear click. Nothing should interfere. It should be nice and smooth. If it feels like it's really tight, like you're fighting it, something's off. Most likely it's that little piece of metal that is sitting between the case and the bezel that's off. Something's not seated flush. So honestly, just take a minute, take the bezel off, check the positioning of everything, and proceed forward by installing everything back again. Now after the movement is cased, we need to fit the stem into this NH36 movement. The stem had to be cut and fitted to a certain length, and most of the fitting I did off camera, but the process is kind of the same, so I cut it slightly larger than I needed it to be, and then gradually I ground the tip until I received or got to the length that I needed. Once I got the needed length, I used a thread locker. I believe it's a Loctite 243. It's a semi-permanent Loctite, and you only need just a dab of that right at the tip. Once I install the crown with the Loctite, I try not to use it for about 24 hours. This way everything cures properly and the crown is nice and snug. And then because this thread locker is not permanent, you're able to remove it if need be down the road. And here you can see me putting that little bit of that thread locker on before we put the crown back in. Install the back case seal after lubricating it and closing the back case lid. Now you'll see in a second something that I didn't see until that moment. The crystal is off. Not only it's aftermarket, but that's not the issue. The issue is the angle of the bevel. It is way too steep and it's really driving me bananas the way it's showing the hour markers. And so after about a day and a half or so, I decided to install a different crystal, as you see there. It's also aftermarket. It is sapphire with clear AR coating with a proper angle of that bevel. So all in all, we have a fully functional SKX007 with a proper NH36 installed with a new crown, new stem. The case has been disassembled, cleaned, and reassembled. Now the watch is sitting on a Uncle Seiko Z199 Jubilee bracelet with hollow edge links. And honestly, this, in my opinion, how the SKX should have been from the get-go. But again, I get why Seiko used the 7S26 movement. So all in all, I think I had a lot of fun doing this build. The biggest takeaways from the build and the process as a whole is verify what you're buying. Look at the movement condition, crown, stem function, details of the bracelet if you're worried about authenticity, the profile of the crystal, and of course the bezel insert. And it's in those small details that you're going to find a lot of things if you are careful. And if you miss them, well, it is what it is. So overall, like I said, I think it came out properly. If you enjoy these kind of honest restorations, stick around because there are a lot more restorations that are coming your way. My name is Dennis, and this was Wheels and Watches DIY.